how about we talk about first, before we dive into these different levels of the tree of life, how about we talk about the difference between visualization and meditation and journey work?
So when I got started working with you, Candace, I had a hard time being able to meditate. And it was something that I always conceptually thought was a really great idea. But realistically doing it, it was not, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't sit still. And it just felt like such a foreign concept, yet my spirit like yearned so much for
Yeah,
it.
you're drawn to it though. Yes.
Yeah. And so, starting out with when we started learning together, is we started out with the tube of light. And that took us like 25 minutes to really focus on the tube of light and allow that to be there. And then as we got started, is we would visualize this tube of light happening. And then all of a sudden, we would go into our sacred grove, which we'll talk about that as well. Is all of a sudden, it's like your spirit is experiencing something that's like soul connecting versus just visualizing. It's like your soul is in a different dimension, it's in a
Mhm.
different realm, actually experiencing what it is that you're visualizing. And the thing that I love about journey work is a lot of people will go and will take like shrooms, or they'll do some kind of plant ceremony or plant medicine, and they might experiencing these higher planes of spiritual awareness. But what I love is through journey work and through breath work, we can achieve that space where we can be in an altered space or altered consciousness through journey work, which is
Yes.
so powerful because you remember everything that you experience because you're still fully here. But it's like you access this different part of your spirit's awareness that's like unlike anything else. I don't even know how else to explain it, but it's like
Yes.
so profound.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Thank you for explaining that. Because a lot of people, they're like, well, what is journey work? And I'm like, journey work is an out of body experience. You
Yes.
are leaving this realm or this dimension and you are entering other dimensions.
Yeah.
And that's why it has such an impact on you, because it's an experience. It's not just something you're imagining in your mind. And this
And
is what you learned, right?
yeah, and for those who are like, what? How could you leave your body? Is your spirit is so much more vast
Oh,
than
yes.
this physical journey. And as we've discovered, your spirit is so much more than this meat suit that we're in right now. And knowing that we can connect into, you might have experienced where all of a sudden you feel connected to this higher being, or like you have all this inspiration, or maybe you're in the flow of connecting to your higher self. It's it's different, but at the same time, like if you think about it like that, you can connect into your higher self. Well, what is your higher self? It's endless possibility. There's so much out there that only saying that I can only have one way of connection really cheats you out from experiencing who your spirit truly is. And so journey
Mhm.
work is just another expression and exploring a different dimension of who it is that your spirit is and what it is that you
Yes.
came here to learn, or maybe that you've experienced in the past. And so don't cut yourself short from saying, well, I don't believe that, because there's so much to discover in that space, that you're actually more of a multidimensional being than you know. And to think that this is just the only thing that your spirit has ever learned or will ever learn is cutting yourself short of like divine intervention.
Yes, we are capable of experiencing so much.
Yes.
And one of the ways that I mean, this is the thing though, is meditation and visualization is the precursor. That is what helps you build that foundation where you can relax. Because one of the things is that we have out of body experiences. We can do it through ayahuasca journeys, peyote, other things like that. You can do it that way. And that kind of forces that upon you quicker. And what I've noticed is that it's not that there isn't a place for that, because people have to explore the things that work for them, right? But you don't have to. And one of the great things about doing it this way, where you're learning the foundational steps, where you're learning meditation and visualization, you're able to relax your body to a point where you can go into an altered state of consciousness. And then you work with a shaman or a medicine woman or man, and they help provide tools for you as you journey to heal certain things, to create permanent shifts, to help you process what you just experienced. It's like the change that happens in the long term over that route, it seems to have a more permanent healing shift on people. Because when you do ayahuasca, if you don't have the proper medicine woman or man to guide you through that process, to help you process what you experience, to help you really integrate the healing that you have been given, you can have this amazing, profound experience, but within 6 to 8 months, you could go back into old patterns because you weren't able to really process or fully integrate your experience. And so, and of course, people have this with near-death experiences too. You have something happen, your body shuts down, the heartbeat stops, the brain functioning stops. You leave the body and you come back, which when that happens, that cord of connection to the body is still there. It hasn't been severed. This is what happens when you journey too. There is a cord. And a lot of people, they don't recognize this cord connected to their physical body, but there is an actual energetic cord that keeps you connected to your body.
I have seen that with people who are kind of in and out before they pass. It's like I see like this gold cord where just like you have an umbilical cord, as a baby, it's the same concept from your spirit to your body. So someone could be maybe in a coma, or they could be kind of in and out, but they could be traveling or doing journey work or doing all these things, but haven't left themselves, which is also called like astro traveling. People do all kinds of stuff with that. It's like your spirit is still attached to this physical journey, this physical moment, but because we're so much more, we can explore a lot more than we realize.
Yes. And that's what I love, why I love doing this, because if people don't believe that there is an afterlife, that's fine. It will show you eventually anyway. I really don't care what anyone thinks. It's like, and this is one of the great things about journeying is you get reminded of that. You are reminded of the vastness of who you are, of your multidimensional self, of the things that you are capable of experiencing. I mean, a lot of times when we do journey work, not only do we experience the lower, the middle, and the upper world, but we also do past life, we do future life, we do retrievals. There's all kinds of things that you do through journey work.
Akashic records.
The Akashic record journeys. But at the same time, I wouldn't jump into those journeys immediately. Right. I always, when working with someone, you build that solid foundation first so they can relax themselves to release the consciousness from their physical vehicle to be able to journey. And you'll always know when you're journeying, when all of a sudden what you're seeing has a life of its own. Things just happen. It's not from what I'm saying. It's not how I got you there,
or even I'll say experience it. Yeah. Or like I'll experience it before you mention it. And it's like, oh yeah,
and
that's
I mention it and confirm it. And that's why I always tell my students, it's like, if you see something and it starts to take on a life, your journey, and then I say it after, don't think that you need to go back and repeat that action. That is a confirmation to you.
Yeah.
To let you know that you're on it. You're on a journey. And so that is a big step. And it's always an exciting step for everyone who is going through that process. Like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing it I am leaving my body in a conscious way. And guess what? It's not that hard.
And I love it because in that space, you're also, when you first get started, when you introduced this to me, it was like, okay, connecting into your 5 senses once you're in the meadow. And it's the same 5 senses that we have here. It's just in spirit. And then there's more senses that we can experience with spirit as well. But it's really very simple in that concept is like, okay, what can you hear? What are you smelling? What are you tasting? What can you hear? What can you see? And it helps bring you into that moment so you can see things so much more clearly as you're moving forward. But it's just so profound. So, journey work is so beautiful, and meditation really, I feel like, helps people get centered and grounded into the moment. And breath work is such a huge tool in that space. Is I can literally feel like, if you've ever gone to the dentist and you've had nitrous, I
Mm-hmm.
worked at a dentist and I know all the things about dentists, but yeah, I'm probably still one of the worst patients. It's so bizarre. But whenever I have to get work done, like it just is so
So
stressful
much
for me.
anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of like if someone who's experienced nitrous and they're like laying there and all of a sudden feels like they're just like floating and everything's spinning around them. You can experience that through breath work. You can
Mm-hmm.
experience that once getting into that meditative state or that journey work is you can experience those things without having it be induced. It's just practicing it and then not being afraid of it and then moving forward in
Yes.
that space. I remember when I first got started, I was like just spinning. Like I just felt like I was
Yes.
spinning so much. And now instead of being afraid of the spin, I can kind of embrace it more. And it's almost like when I embrace that, I feel like I receive more information because I'm not trying to control what's going on. I'm just releasing and surrendering. And a lot more healing work can be done when I'm not physically or mentally trying to control a spiritual concept that my mental mind can't even grasp.
Yes. And that energy of that rotation that you're feeling is that energy rising up the channels, rising up through the Kundalini. And that is a sensation that people feel right before they journey. And it's just that movement of energy moving through that life force energy, moving through the currents of the body and moving up the channels. And that's why it's like when you get advanced enough, you don't have to go through so many steps. You can focus on the breath and line up, and you'll start feeling that rotation. And I'll say,
Mhm.
feel it move up the spine and come out of the crown. And every time they come out of the crown, the rotation spin stops.
Yep.
And it's because they're hovering, their energy body is hovering above the body.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's a natural feeling. I mean, when people meditate and they start feeling that rotation of energy, that is the rotation of energy moving up those energy currents or energy centers through the body.
Yeah. And one thing that I find very fascinating, and I'm a little bit worried to say this, but it's okay. I need to talk about it, is in scripture, a lot of old prophets talk about being taken away or being taken up on a
Mm-hmm.
mountaintop, or where they've received a lot of revelation, or maybe they're dreaming and they're taken up to a mountaintop, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, they use those words, I was taken up,
Yeah.
which
Ezekiel, Enoch. I think there was another one
there's so
too.
many. Yeah.
Mhm.
Where it's
They're
like,
all Eves.
I don't know the names of all. I should know that, but I don't. Is it still is talked about? It's like experienced in those ways. It might not be necessarily the same wording, but I believe that they also experience that as well, is where they're taken up into this higher consciousness to receive revelation, to receive this inspiration, to bring it back down.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Aquarian age, it's like we're learning that we have the ability to do those things for ourselves, reclaim those truths. So, journey work is
Yes.
so key in that area because it's really taking that power back. And there's nothing wrong with how they did that. And the wisdom they taught is so beautiful. But it's not any different than what they've experienced as well. I strongly believe is they did the same
I
thing that we can do.
strongly believe that. Yes, it's what we have access to. We can connect into higher states of consciousness. We have access to this because we are one with the divine.
Yes.
And so, and I noticed too, like before we do channeling work, you'll feel that spin, that
Yep.
rotation energy again. And then you'll leave the body. And then that's when the energy, at least for me, it's almost like I'm sitting on a bench
Yeah.
on the side of my body. And then my body becomes kind of inhabited by angelic realms like I communicate a lot with Pleiadian energy, with the Galactic Council. You and I both have had access to the Galactic Council.
Yeah.
And so I'll feel
really
that
cool.
energy coming in. It's almost like we're sharing a room.
Yep.
We're sharing space, but that rotation happens right before I start channeling, because I'm raising the energy in and moving my energy over to the side and creating space for that to come in and to access my channel.
And it's the spiral, which is so symbolic for portal entrance. It's this opening up this portal. I find that every time I have a session, I always draw like an arrow pointing in, and then I do a portal entrance, and then I do an arrow pointing in, and I do it throughout the whole entire page. And I didn't necessarily understand why that was, but it like dawned on me. It's like my connection into this portal energy, inviting their connection in. And I literally can't start a session without having my paper set up that way. But
it's like you're opening up the gates.
Yeah. Yep. It is. And it's so interesting how that spiral has so much symbolism, just like the tree, right? Just like the tree of life we are so symbolic in life, and there's so much spiritual symbolism in everything if we just look for it.
Thank you for watching Modern Sages. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We are so grateful for your support. We have an Instagram account as well as on Facebook. We have our podcast, which is the Modern Sages podcast.
And we are so excited to launch our Gifts of Spirit classes in our Modern Sages Mystery School.
Absolutely. Oh, we're so excited. So we're going to link the information below in the show notes for more information about our mystery school.